There is a feeling that most people know well, and almost no one talks about. Not sadness exactly, though it can carry sadness with it. Not depression, though the two can travel together. Something more specific, a feeling of being on the outside of something, of watching the warmth of connection from a position just slightly beyond its reach. Loneliness. The word itself has a soft sound, lonely. It drifts, which perhaps captures something true about the experience. It is rarely dramatic. It tends to settle in quietly, in ordinary moments. We live in a time of unprecedented technical connection. And yet loneliness has been described as one of the defining health crises of our age. Tonight, we are going to take loneliness seriously, not as a personal failing, not as something to be ashamed of, but as a biological signal, a piece of information the body is trying to give us, one that deserves our attention, our curiosity, and a great deal more compassion than it typically receives. Wherever you are tonight, however you are feeling, you are not alone in having felt this way. The first thing to understand about loneliness is the distinction between being alone and feeling lonely. They are not the same thing. They are not even reliably related. Being alone is a circumstance, a description of the external world, neutral in itself. And there are many people for whom solitude is not merely tolerable, but actively nourishing. Writers, artists, contemplatives, introverts of all kinds, who need time alone to restore themselves. For these people, solitude is not a lack. It is a presence. Loneliness is a subjective experience of disconnection, a gap between the social connection you have and the connection you need. You can feel lonely in a crowd. You can feel lonely in a long marriage. You can feel lonely at a party where everyone else seems to know exactly how to be. And you can feel completely whole, completely at peace, while sitting entirely alone in a quiet room. Loneliness is not about proximity to other people. It is about the quality of contact between the self and the world, whether it reaches something that matters. To understand why loneliness exists at all, we need to go back. A long way back. Human beings did not evolve as solitary creatures. We evolved as deeply, fundamentally social animals. For the vast majority of our evolutionary history, separation from the group was not an inconvenience. It was a death sentence. Natural selection strongly favored individuals who experienced separation as unpleasant, painful, motivating, who were driven by that discomfort to seek out the group and return to it. And so loneliness evolved, not as a malfunction, but as a survival mechanism, as useful and as well designed as hunger or thirst. A signal saying, something you need is missing. Go and find it. The problem is that we no longer live in that ancestral environment. The drive is ancient. The world it evolved for is gone. And the loneliness that was meant to be a temporary and motivating discomfort can become instead a persistent state. We are ancient creatures in a modern world, carrying ancient needs into circumstances that can make them genuinely difficult to meet. The research on the physical effects of chronic loneliness is striking. John Cacioppo spent decades investigating what loneliness actually does to the human body and brain. What he found was that loneliness is not merely an unpleasant feeling. It is a physiological state that affects the body at a cellular level. Chronically lonely people show significantly elevated cortisol levels, disrupted sleep, increased inflammation, impaired immune function, elevated blood pressure, accelerated cognitive decline. The epidemiological research has found that the health risks of chronic loneliness are comparable in their magnitude to smoking 15 cigarettes a day. Brain imaging studies have revealed that lonely individuals show heightened activity in the brain regions associated with threat detection. The world looks more dangerous to a lonely brain. Faces are read as more hostile. Ambiguous social situations are interpreted more negatively. The lonely person, primed to detect rejection, may withdraw further from social situations, creating a cycle that deepens isolation rather than relieving it. Katsuopo called this the loneliness trap. In 2018, the United Kingdom became the first country in the world to appoint a minister for loneliness, following a report that found over 9 million people often or always felt lonely. In the United States, 61% of adults reported significant loneliness in 2020. And these were pre-pandemic figures. Social media presents a paradox. For some people, online communities provide genuine, meaningful connection. But passive scrolling, watching a curated highlight reel of other people's lives from a position of isolation, does not relieve loneliness. It intensifies it. The medium that promised to connect us all has, for many people, become another room in which to feel left out. The most effective interventions for loneliness address the quality of connection rather than the quantity. Small, genuine interactions. The brief exchange with a stranger that has real warmth in it. The conversation that goes one level deeper than it needed to. And one of the most counterintuitive findings is about the direction of attention. Turning outward. Noticing the needs of others. The attempt to give connection, rather than to get it, more reliably results in genuine connection than the effort to find it directly. Time in nature has been consistently linked to reduced feelings of loneliness, not through social contact, but through a sense of belonging to something larger. The Japanese practice of Shinrin-yoku, forest bathing, simply spending time in forests slowly and without agenda, has been shown to reduce cortisol, lower blood pressure, and reduce feelings of loneliness. Perhaps there are forms of belonging that we have forgotten to notice. The fact that you feel lonely does not mean that you are unlovable. It does not mean that you are destined to remain this way. It means that you are human, that your nervous system is doing exactly what it evolved to do, signaling a need as real and legitimate as hunger or thirst. Loneliness is not a verdict on your worth. It is information about your needs. Millions of people are lying awake tonight with the same feeling. Billions across all of human history have felt it. You are not uniquely alone in your loneliness. That sounds paradoxical, but it is true. The capacity for connection never leaves us. The need for it is the evidence that we were made for it. For now, let tonight be enough. Let your breathing slow. Let the thoughts that have been circling grow a little quieter. You are safe. You are resting. And you are, in this moment, part of something, part of the long human story of needing each other and finding each other and looking again. That story continues through every night like this one, and so does yours. Good night.